G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Delling from the website Kangaroo Court of Australia. Now on Monday the 8th of August 2022, former New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro gave evidence at the New South Wales Parliament inquiry into his dodgy appointment to a $500,000 New York job, which he ultimately resigned from before he even started. Now, what is important in relation to the hearing on Monday is that the old media have sort of dodged and avoided key elements that in relation to John Barilaro's relationship with his former staff member, former senior media advisor Jennifer Lugsdin, and his current girlfriend. He's currently in a relationship with her, and it's my understanding when she was working for him prior to August 2021 for 2 years that she was his mistress. Now, the New South Wales Parliament inquiry spent over 20 minutes asking John Barilaro, and in the morning and the afternoon, then Amy Brown, questions about Jennifer Lugsdin, and they flagged that when John Barilaro was back before the committee, before the inquiry on Friday, the 12th of August 2022, they're going to be asking him more questions about Jennifer Lugsdin. Now, John Barilaro admitted he was in a relationship with Jennifer Lugsdin on Monday, yesterday. And but when he started getting asked questions, he started ducking and weaving. I'm going to play the actual video in a minute, but there's probably a couple of key things there. One, when it was put to him by Jenny Sharper, Labor politician, that he was in a relationship with with Jennifer Lugsdin, she asked, did you declare the relationship when you were talking with Amy Brown and you rang her to find out about a job for Jennifer Lugsdin? Did you declare that you were in a personal relationship with her? Well, John Barilaro said, no, I wasn't at the time. And Jenny Sharp said, is that your evidence today? And he said, yes, it is. Now, she's locked him into that. Why? Well, I suspect she's got evidence that they were in a relationship prior to that, or at least at the time. And that, if that does eventuate on Friday when he's back giving evidence, that's going to be a stick of dynamite. Now, there are a couple other key aspects. Well, John Barilaro also gave evidence that he had very little to do with Amy Brown, who's a CEO of Investment New South Wales. She reported to him. He was a minister overseeing that department. Amy Brown gave evidence that she only ever had 3 phone calls with John Barilaro and 1 Teams meeting. Now, a Teams meeting is an internet meeting. Can be 2 people, but quite often it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, and that's the only contact they ever had. And as Amy Brown was asked, out of that 3 phone calls and 1 team meeting, one of those phone calls was from John Barilaro ringing you to ask about a position for his media advisor Jennifer Lugsdin. Is that correct? Yes. So he had very little to do with Amy Brown, he claims, but he did ring her for a position for his mistress at the time, Jennifer Lugsdin, although he says they weren't in a relationship at the time. And another key element is you'll see that Amy Brown has asked, did Jennifer Lugsdin make any declarations about any private interest, conflict of interest, when she started for Investment New South Wales? And she said, well, in December 2021, we did ask the recruiter, because she went through a recruitment agency, as she signed off on the conflict declaration form. And Jennifer Lugsdin left a few days later. She was long gone. She finished up as soon as they asked for that. And they were asked, okay, why did you ask for that in December 2021 when she had started in August? Oh, well, we asked for that because there was a media report. And obviously the media report was John Barilaro and Jennifer Lugsdin were in a relationship. So as soon as they've asked for that, Jennifer Lugsdin's long gone. Now, there is a suggestion that Jennifer Lugsdin might be called to give evidence. Obviously, I don't think it'll be this week, but potentially later on down the track, next week or the week after. And she's working for the New South Wales government, so I suspect she has to show up if she's a government employee, if the Parliament inquiry subpoena her. I think private citizens, I don't know if they have to show up to Parliament inquiries. I don't know if they can be subpoenaed. John Barilaro said he gave evidence yesterday by his own free will. So it seems to suggest that private citizens can't be subpoenaed, but given that Jennifer Lugsdin is currently working for a government department in a media role, I suspect if they subpoena her to give evidence, she'll have to show up. So it's looking like it'll be absolute dynamite. Now let's have a listen to John Barilaro and the evidence he gave yesterday, and then we'll have a listen to Amy Brown and the evidence that she gave. Like I said, it's just over 20 minutes, but well worth watching, because that is the foundation to the questions that are going to be asked on Friday when John Barilaro is back in the witness stand. Not that there is a witness stand, but he's back under oath giving evidence.
I've just got a short number of questions on this issue. Mr. Barilaro, previously you talked about how frequently you were dealing with Amy Brown, and I think your evidence this morning was that probably in the tenure of you as the Minister and her as being a direct report to you, you spoke to her on maybe 2 occasions.
That's what, but it could be a few more, but a couple, yeah.
So a Teams meeting and
I don't know.
And did you have text contact with her?
I would have on occasion. I'm not sure on what in particular, but on occasion.
But you would have texted each other sometimes?
Yes, possibly.
And did you talk to each other on the phone very much?
Very little.
Did you ever ask Miss Brown to recruit or / hire someone out of your office into the department?
Yes, I did contact Miss Brown in relation to a job vacancy in her office that was through a recruitment agency on behalf of one of my advisors, yes.
Can you, what was the position, sorry?
It was a media role.
And who was the person in your office?
I'm not sure if I should, but it was a media advisor.
Was it your senior media advisor?
Senior media advisor.
And it was the advisor who ended up going into that role, is that correct?
Yeah, as a contractor, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, when did that happen?
Oh, look, I can't recall exactly.
And did that happen prior, at the time that the job was publicly advertised?
That's a question for the agency.
Well, sorry, it's a question for you because you made the call, but did you know at that time that there was a public advertisement?
No, I was asked by my immediate advisor, or was told by my immediate advisor that she was applying for a job in the trade. In the trade space.
That was at the point, and then prior to, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So she was applying for a job in trade in the department, and would I be a referee? And I chose to reach out to find out about that job. But I wasn't aware if it was advertised, what the actual job details. All I know was it was a media advisor.
How was she aware of the job?
I don't know. That's a question for others.
Mr. Barilaro, sorry, there's a bit of a discrepancy between what you said to Ms. Sharp in first instance and what you just said. Ms. Sharp asked you whether or not you contacted her and asked her to hire a senior media advisor.
No,
Sorry, just what Ms. Sharp asked. What you said was you then did pick up the phone and asked Miss Brown to effectively, you said yes to that question.
No, sorry.
So you called up Miss Brown in the midst of a public sector recruitment process for a media advisor position in her office, and you either provided her a reference or asked her to hire her. Is that correct?
No, I didn't ask her to hire her. I put forward...
You nominated her?
Sorry?
You nominated her?
No, I put forward her credentials and why she would be a good candidate.
And this is occurring in the pattern in a relationship... Sorry, this is occurring in a circumstance where your contact with Miss Brown is relatively rare and infrequent, for good reasons, to be fair to you. That's correct?
Yes.
So were you intending to place pressure on Miss Brown to make that decision?
Not at all. I mean, I often would go into bat for any of my former staffers that were looking for jobs in or out of government.
This was a current staffer, though, just to be clear.
Yeah, and there were plenty of current staffers at the time that were moving, that I would ring for other ministers that were looking for staff. If they were keen to change their role, if the circumstances working in my office weren't suited to them, I'd do that. Yeah,
but do you understand, again, from the perspective of the person who's in receipt of that call, who is your direct report, who hears from you infrequently, that for you to call them up and highlight a person's credentials may well be seen as the application of pressure?
No, not at all. Look, again, I put someone forward, and what I realised post that was actually she wasn't hired by the department. It was actually an agency. She was a contractor on a short-term contract. It wasn't actually direct hire.
We might come back to the department.
Mr. Barilaro, can we just go back to the appointment of your senior media advisor? Yes. Did you make any declarations to Amy Brown when you were giving her a reference and or pointing to the fact that she wanted a job in Investment New South Wales?
Declarations in what way?
That you were in a personal relationship with that media advisor?
I wasn't in a relationship at that time.
That's your evidence today?
Absolutely.
And so you didn't feel that you needed to, that you were obviously friends and you'd been working closely together. You didn't believe that you needed to make any declarations around that?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Can we just establish then, Mr. Barilaro, do you have any particular recall as to when this conversation with Ms. Brown may have happened?
No, I can't recall.
Okay. I mean, we can establish...
I am just going to take the point of order and, clearly Mr. Barilaro is happy to answer these questions, but this is clearly outside the terms of reference, but, by all means...
I wasn't even sure what the question was going to be, actually, so I'll just allow the member to continue asking the question. I'm not sure you'd even formulated it yet.
No.
Yes.
No,
so
correct.
continue.
We were waiting for it too.
I was a step ahead. Just going to invite you, perhaps, Mr. Barilaro, on notice ahead of perhaps your return on Friday, if it is possible that you could take some steps to ascertain, search your memory for when you think it's possible that such a phone call would have been made.
On what? Sorry, I'm still confused of what you're asking of me.
First, I apologise, Mr. Barilaro, if I've left you confused, but the question that I'm asking you to search your memory for is that when you called Miss Brown and recommended or encouraged or nominated or described the credentials of your senior media advisor for a role in Investment New South Wales, whether it's possible, you could perhaps see whether or not you can determine when you made that call.
And I'll take the point of order, Chair, that question's clearly outside the terms of reference and should be ruled out of order.
I will allow the question.
On what grounds?
Well, I don't
if you want me to go to the point of order, we've been talking, this is all firmly within the time frame of what was going on with the office and the discussions that were happening. It's actually completely material when Ms Lugsdin started that job, what information she was privy to on the way through in relation to this appointment. So we haven't got to that yet today, Mr Fang, but be clear, this is absolutely within order.
It's just muckraking by you guys, and it's absolutely outside the terms of reference. Absolute muckraking.
Just further to the point of order.
We know who muckraking.
You're already having to expand the terms of reference.
Mr Fang, order. Like honestly, there are 3 minutes left. I can stop the clock actually and I can eat into government's time. Let's do that.
Asking the witness to just search his memory for Friday and to be fair to the witness so we can understand the context of the questions that are likely to arise on Friday. It's because it goes to the question as to how precisely did Mr Barilaro know that a job was coming. And there is evidence we will be introducing on Friday that shows that certainly that particular person was involved in the media releases surrounding the announcement.
Happy to rule the point of order out of order. I'm really not. To allow you to continue to ask the line of questioning that you're going down, because there is in terms of the processes and circumstances surrounding the appointment, which is very broad now in the relationship between yourself and the department. I think the question is in order. Ms.
Thank you. Yes, but given the discussion that we've just had, it is important, and I have flagged some of that. When then, if you're saying that there was no declaration required for Ms Lugsdin when you were making inquiries in August, I believe it was, with Ms Brown, when did the relationship commence?
Well, again, now this is outside of the term of reference in relation to a personal relationship that I had with an individual. I don't see how that is relevant at all.
Can I just... Well,
and a lot's been said publicly about my personal life.
Sure. I know this is uncomfortable, and can I say I'm not particularly thrilled to be having to ask these questions either. But this is very important. Anyway. No, I'm actually not.
Yeah, I think you are. I think you're relishing in it.
But the question is very important because, as we've said, we've spent a bit of time on this, and we're flagging that we will be spending more time on this next Friday, this coming Friday, which is how you came to know about the job and the information that someone you were in a relationship with who, can I just say and flag with you, in documents clearly was aware about the various processes associated with the advertising and the nature of this position. So this is why it becomes material, and I'm sorry that you don't like me asking it. As I said, I don't particularly like asking it.
I took the point of order, not Mr. Barilaro.
Order. Mr. Fang, you don't have a point of order right now. Stop running.
I'm explaining to Mr.
Don't put it on Mr. Barilaro.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp, for explaining it, but it is an accusation that's being made, and that individual doesn't have a right to defend themselves. Secondly, I was not in a relationship with her while I was the Deputy Premier or a trade minister, so I can make that absolutely clear at any time. She had a short-term contract that finished in December, well before I applied for the job in January.
Mr. Barilaro,
that's not the question that we were asking.
Just so you can appreciate it, it's not about your involvement, just to be very clear in that respect. But the issue is that there is evidence in front of us that you were certainly having conversations or flagged the interest with the Premier in November. You had 2 conversations with Minister Ayres as well, one prior to the announcement of the role, the second at the time of the announcement of the role. Obviously, there's an element of interest into whether or not there was any reasonable basis for you to anticipate that the role was forthcoming. And I just want to flag, because we're about to run out of time in precisely 50 seconds. 2 seconds, that we do intend to raise it on Friday, which I think the actual question I was asking you, which I don't think, to be fair to you, you have had a chance to respond to, was could you search your memory between now and Friday and perhaps recall or check your records, whatever information is available to you, to see whether or not you can tell us when precisely you called Miss Brown to encourage her.
I'll do my best.
Thank you, Mr. Barilaro.
Okay, we now...
Now, you've just seen John Barilaro. At one point, he didn't want to head down that path of answering questions in relation to Jennifer Lugsdin, but he thought better of it, because if you reject, refuse too hard to answer questions, well, then it was going to obviously put a stick of dynamite under the issue and inflame it. So he did answer the questions where he could, well, not where he could, where he would is probably more likely. I have no doubt he was ducking and weaving on the answers. And so let's have a listen to Amy Brown, the answers that she gave. I think one of the key points here is that they get Amy Brown to admit he had very little to do with John Barilaro, but he did ring when he wanted a favour, obviously, for Jennifer Lugsdin. So let's have a listen to her evidence.
I just wanted to ask you, and I know we touched on this on Friday, but I'm not sure if you saw Mr. Barilaro's evidence just before, but I just wanted to ask a few questions in relation to the employment of his former senior media advisor.
Yes.
Still muckraking, I can see.
Order.
Beg your pardon?
Still muckraking. And outside the terms of reference.
Order. Mr. Fang, we've already discussed this. Order.
Come on, Robert.
Order.
Just started now.
Oh, Robert.
Let's just continue. Ms. Sharp.
Thank you. Are you able to give us sort of an approximate date? And I know I'm not necessarily know a precise date when Mr. Barilaro contacted you in relation to a job for his senior media advisor.
Thank you for your question. I have tried to source that from my phone records. I've been unable to. Sorry. However, she was engaged via Contractor Central to commence a contract appointment with us on the 16th of August 2021, and I expect that we were sourcing candidates, so to speak, for that role immediately prior to that. So it was about that time.
And do you recall do you recall the contact with Mr. Barilaro in relation to this?
I do.
And was it a text or a phone call?
It was a phone call.
And do you recall what Mr. Barilaro said to you in relation to this?
He said that there was a senior media advisor in his office who was looking for new opportunities, and that he'd heard through the grapevine that we were building out our media and communications team. I said to him, that is likely to be the case, but she's welcome to sort of apply for opportunities, and my head of media and communications is making those arrangements. So.
And do you think that he would have known this via Mr. Brayford, or how do you think, or just... would you have ever mentioned to him that you were putting more people on? I
think my head of media and communications is well networked within other people who work in media and communications, particularly for the government. So this media advisor may well have heard it through the grapevine from my head of communications.
And just to clarify, Mr. Barilaro made no comments in relation to any relationship he had with the senior media advisor other than a professional one.
That's no comments other than a professional relationship. Yes.
And when she came to work for your agency, is there a requirement for there to be declarations in relation to that employment?
Right. So she wasn't actually employed by Investment New South Wales. She was contingent labour, and contingent labour hires remain employees of the relevant recruitment agency. So she was engaged with us as contingent labour hire. Via this pre-qualified agency, she remained their employee. However, and so any kind of referee checking and conflict declarations and so on were with that company as her employer. But at some point, we did actually ask whether or not conflict declarations had been made.
Do you recall when that was?
It was approximately, certainly in December 2021.
And was there a reason why, I mean, she'd obviously been there since August, why you decided at that period of time to ask about this?
We saw a report in the media, and although it was speculative, it concerned us enough to pick up the phone to her employer and ask whether or not she had made a conflict declaration, and requested that if there was a conflict of interest declaration, that one could be provided to us. But we don't actually have records of that happening, most likely because we finished up her employment with us on the 22nd of December, which was only a number of days after.
Yeah, sorry, but you basically, so the recruitment firm, labour hire firm, weren't able to confirm with you whether there had been a declaration made, or they just never got around to sending one to you?
I believe they couldn't confirm on the spot, and they never followed up with us, most likely because the contract ended.
Okay.
I just have one question. Yeah. Ms Brown, in your very first appearance before us, you talked about the lack of contact that you had with Mr Barilaro when he was the relevant minister. I think you mentioned one Teams meeting, is that correct?
3 phone calls and 1 Teams meeting. 3 phone calls and 1 Teams meeting, and one of those 3 phone calls was him calling you and saying, you've got this opportunity, I'd like you to consider someone in my office, is that Precisely.
correct? Okay, thanks very much.
And I just wanted to ask, you said the head of media and communications in your agency was well networked in government. Had they previously worked on the ministerial office side?
Yes, she had.
And for whom did that head of media and communications work?
She worked for Minister Stuart Ayres.
Thank you.
Secretary Brown, firstly, thank you for coming back. We appreciate that.
3rd time's a charm.
Indeed. I'm just going to continue on with this line of questioning, if you don't mind. By any chance, forgive me if I'm stretching your patience here, but have you by any chance brought back your tender bundle from the other day?
It's not about this either, but anyway.
No, I apologise. We're having a document printed for you as we speak.
Okay.
To be brought down from that tender bundle, just in case anyone from the government side, just because it's only come to hand. I am referring to pages 19 to 26 of the documents we tendered on the 3rd of August last week. Miss Secretary Brown, was this the person, how should we refer to it?
Senior media advisor.
Senior media advisor employed, oh, excellent. Can we provide to the witness?
Do you know which page?
Yeah, 19 to 26.
Yeah, perfect, Stuart.
Thank you to the Secretary to the rescue. Do you want to just turn to the page?
19.
Yeah. Starting from 19, but perhaps, Secretary, it's better to start from page 23.
Yep.
Because we're going to work our way up an email chain.
Yes.
You good?
I'm with you.
Thank you. You can see that this is an email chain that's on page, starts at the bottom of page 22 and goes over to 23. So I think it's probably best you start on 22. Mm-hmm. You see that this is a person who I don't know, making an email to 2 members of, I think, Minister Ayres' staff. You see that? CCing Ms Bell, 2 others, and media at investmentnewsouthwales.gov.au.
Sure.
Who was running the media at investmentnewsouthwales.gov.au account?
I'd need to take that on notice.
Okay, that's fine, no problems. But I presume the senior media advisor would have access to that account?
I'd need to take it on notice.
Okay, no problems. You see here, it just says, this is a pretty innocuous email. It says, "Hi both, thanks for your time just then. Please see attached our draft of the Sticks announcements for your consideration." You see that?
Yes.
Okay, so, and you can see on page 24 and 25 the actual drafts that were being sent to consideration. They're the actual media releases, which are not really material. But that's what's attached. If you don't mind working up, let's go back up to the middle of page 2022 to the email sent by the Associate Director of Communications and Media and Engagement.
Got it?
The reply says to suggest a tweak to the attached as I think the order reads clearer. Again, not pretty innocuous.
Looks good, yep.
Let's go up again, and it goes, this is now the reply from Minister Ayres' advisor, who I presume is a media advisor. And she goes, "Thanks all, it's with the minister now." You see that?
Yes.
Okay, let's go forward to the next, forward up to page 21. None of this, the email that Miss Bell sends at 3:53 is immaterial. The email that Miss Bell also sends at 8:45 is immaterial, but you can see that at the bottom of page 20, over to 21, you can see the Policy Director in Mr Ayres' office's replies to Miss Bell. "Thanks, Kylie. The Minister is currently reviewing the media release. Can I confirm we're still waiting on Vish's signature, which is due to occur today?" I presume that's a reference to the Stick appointment in Mumbai.
Yes.
Yes. Can we go to page 19 now? So you see here, "Hi, Sophie and Ellen." And then over the page is, she goes, or this person goes, yes, I think it might be a she, goes, "We understand the Minister has given feedback via Amy that he would like to see the remaining recruitment would be finalised before the end of the year. However, this is not the case as both Americans and China's will be Q1. We've amended the attached and I've made minor tweaks to take an errant word out."
Sure.
Yep, again, relatively innocuous, I think. But just go up to page 19.
Yep.
See the highlighted section?
Yep.
Says this, one edit made. "The Minister was keen for the recruitment to be commenced advertised this year," which it is, so I've included some weasel words to put that beyond doubt. "Otherwise, this is fine by me. We will leave Soph to finalise." That's on the 9th of December 2021.
Okay.
And you can see, I presume that that's a reference, because at this point in time, the only jobs that need to be advertised are the Americas and the China position, so I presume that's correct?
Correct.
So the jobs that the Minister was keen for recruitment to be commenced or advertised this year
Yes.
was the Americas position, correct?
Yes.
And this is an email that is sent on the 9th of December 2021, correct?
Yep.
That is 8 days prior to the public advertisement. Is that when the decision was made to start the search for the Americas position or thereabouts, to recommence the actual advertisement?
What do you mean by decision was made to start the search?
Well, as in to press go, for want of a better term, on the advertisement, and to recommence the search.
Yes, I can't say when we decided to press go. That would have been the subject of a lot of conversation. But you're right that it was re-advertised on the 17th of December, so this would have been in the lead up.
Yep, and just to be very clear, the Minister was keen for recruitment to be commenced advertised this year, which it is.
Yes.
And that could only have been the Americas and China's position, correct?
Yep.
Okay, can you just go to the very top, the header? "From Investment New South Wales Media forwards this to many people." You see that?
Yes.
You can see one of the people whom this email chain is forwarded to is Jennifer Lugsdin. Do you see that?
Correct.
So, Ms Lugsdin knew, we can infer that, and to be fair to her, so did the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. They knew, she would have known at least by the 10th of December that Minister Ayres had made a decision to commence the advertising this year. Is that a fair inference?
Assuming she read that email, yes.
It was sent to her, though. It was sent to her, though. You're confirming that's clearly what it shows.
And it's reasonably, sorry, Ms Brown, you have to respond verbally. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But also, we still need to get to the bottom of who has access to the Investment New South Wales media account, because it's also possible that that's how people become aware too.
Fair enough.
If it's possible we can get access to that information this afternoon, that would be helpful.
I'll take it on notice, and if we can revert this afternoon, we will.
And can I, without naming them, can I just confirm that that first person to whom the email is sent is is your head of media and communications,
That is correct.
a former ministerial staffer for Stuart Ayres, to whom Jennifer Lugsdin reported. Is that inaccurate?
Oh, I don't know about Ms Lugsdin's career history. I don't know who she worked for.
Sorry. Oh, well, let me put it to you in two parts.
At this time.
That is your head of media and communications who formerly worked for Stuart Ayres, that's correct, at the top of that email. And is that to whom Ms Lugsdin reported while she worked in this role?
She actually reported to the Associate Director for Media and Investment.
And then through to this person?
It would ultimately feed through to this person, yes, because they were the head of it.
Yep. Okay.
Now, as I said at the beginning, and you would have heard the various MPs saying that they're going to be asking John Barilaro more questions on Friday, the 12th of August 2022. So we'll see what happens there, but it's looking like it'll be absolute dynamite, I think. And I suspect that'll lay the foundations for them to subpoena Jennifer Lugsdin to give evidence. Like I've said before, I've set up a John Barilaro page on my website. It's got all the articles and stories I've written, and I've probably written the most about John Barilaro and his relationship with Jennifer Lugsdin, so there's numerous stories there with a lot of the background. Other than that, please visit the new Kangaroo Court of Australia shop and grab yourself a t-shirt. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please share it on Facebook, Twitter, etc. And if you visit my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, please sign up for the free email subscription, and every time I publish a new article, you'll get an email that you know there's a new article that'll be read. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.